What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. If you are new, please go right down below and hit the subscribe button. So, this is Mustang vlog number 2. What we're going to be talking about is whether you want to choose to drive an automatic or a manual. Start off this video with it. We're going to be talking about what is a transmission. A transmission is something that goes between your motor and the wheels. It processes the power of the engine to convert it to the power to the wheels using gear ratios. And what that does is it allows the engine to be able to get the car moving faster. So first gear is your highest gear. So it's going to go from, you're going from a very small gear to a very large gear. Now this allows the engine to turn, for every one time the engine turns, allows the back wheels to turn like 0.00 something. It's a very small amount, but this allows the engine to spin fast, but allow the back wheels to spin slow. And that allows you to have 1,000 RPMs while your wheels are only turning at like one revolution, while the engine's moving at like 1,000 revolutions and stuff like that. This is the most simple. So you go from 1,000 revolutions down to basically 1 revolution. That's just not the actual ratio, but that's basically what it's doing. The transmission's doing. And then second gear. So for there's an example, 1,000 revolutions would be 2 or 3 rotations of the wheels per 1,000 revolution of the motor. And then third gear, so third gear, let's just say, for every 1,000 revolutions of the motor, the back wheels will turn 5 revolutions for every 1,000 revolutions of the motor, and just so on. Basically, it's allowing until for every, basically kind of like this, it's going like just basically just for a simple complex of it. So to the point where it's a 1-to-1 ratio. So every 1 turn of the motor will equal to 1 turn of the wheel, of the rear wheels. Basically summing it up. And that's usually your 5th or 6th gear, which is overdrive, or your highest gear in your car. So starting with the manual transmission is that the manual transmission is basically you're going to be switching the gears by yourself. You're going to be going to 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, or 1, 2, 3, or 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever how many gears you have. So the idea of the manual transmission is you're going to have 3 pedals on the floor, starting with from your normal right. The 2 right pedals are the same, gas, and then it goes brake. But then you have your 3rd pedal here, that is your clutch, which is basically there's a thing connecting from the motor to the transmission. It's called a clutch. And the way the clutch works is that basically it connects the transmission to the motor. Now you cannot just, when you want to get the car going, you cannot just like let your foot push the clutch, let the clutch come back up. Now the way the clutch works is, the clutch pedal works is when you push the clutch pedal down, it disengages this disc called the clutch, and it disengages it, so no power is going to the motor, to the transmission. You know what that clutch does? It basically is like a friction plate where it grabs the motor flywheel, grabs the motor, and it allows it to kind of grab the wheel and start turning the transmission to turn the motors. And but you cannot, now when you want the car to go, you can't just let the clutch flop all the way up. You can't just let the clutch come up right away, or you'll stall the car because you're letting all that force of the clutch pushing against the motor, and it just stalls the motor out because there's too much force for the motor to push. So usually when you want to start a manual transmission, start rolling, instead of just hitting the gas, you kind of gotta like let the clutch up. You gotta let the clutch up and then push the gas at little by little as you let the clutch back up. It's not that hard. It sounds complicated, but it's actually really simple after you get into it and actually try it. Because usually you can let the clutch up and you'll feel the motor start grabbing the friction disc, and it will start to turn the friction disc little by little. Because what you're doing is basically slipping the clutch, meaning you're letting the clutch you're letting the motor drag on the disc. But what you're doing is the motor's dragging on the disc, but little by little that disc will start spinning with the motor and eventually become a 1-to-1 with it. Eventually just push down, and that's when you go the clutch all the way up. So with a manual transmission, every time, with the manual transmission, you have to use that clutch pedal to switch gears. So for first, you gotta do the whole slipping motion of the gas pedal and the clutch. And then after that, after you go from first gear and get that going, you're rolling, you have to use the clutch to switch to second gear, to third gear, to fourth gear, downshift to third gear, and every time you ever touch basically the stick of the car, when you're shifting into a certain gear, you have to use the clutch. If not, you'll be grinding your gears on the transmission. I'll be making a separate video on how the manual transmission actually works and everything. But for now, just understand that you have to use the clutch and then to move the gears and everything, how it works. And with the manual transmission also, you have a direct connection to the motor, to the transmission. So basically, it's basically the motor is basically directly connected to the motor. The motor is directly connected to the transmission, because you have that plate that's basically directly connected to it. It's not connected, but it's friction to it. It's stuck to it when you're in gear and everything. Now, the automatic transmission was made to make driving easier. It was so that you can just drive the car, just worry about steering and using the brake and gas, and then your blinkers or wipers if people can't come. So, how the automatic transmission works is basically planetary gearing, and it's like more complicated gearing. It's very more complex. It uses solenoids. It uses the transmission fluid. It's all pressurized and moves valves and all these kind of things. So, it's a very more complex system. Like I said, use planetary gear system, which is basically one gear in the center. You have 3 gears on the outside, and you have this outer gear on the other side. So it's a more complex system, but it works very well. Now, the older models, they were not better than the manual, but nowadays you pretty much automatic beats the manual all the time almost now. But the manual always has its good facts, because it's more of like a person that loves. It's fun to drive, and you feel in so much more control of the car than with the automatic. But the automatic, but going with the automatic does not have a direct connection to the motor. It uses a torque converter, which is a little round, this big donut looking thing. I'll throw a picture up right here. It's a donut looking thing, and basically what it is basically there's fluid inside of it. It uses transmission fluid, and it uses fluid to turn these turbines inside of it. And so really, there's really no direct connection to the motor, to the transmission. It's fluid on the inside being pushed against fins of the transmission side. So the way it works, it's like one side of the thing is connected to the motor, the other side is connected to the transmission. This side spins, and it spins this fluid inside of the thing, inside of the torque converter. Sorry, I'm going to a very tight spot. And it pushes against these fins, and it makes the transmission turn. So that's how the automatic transmission works. And the automatic transmission, once again, it has 1 through how many gears it has, so 1 through 6 nowadays. And an automatic is just a 6 gear, depending what you need. If you want more power, then you hit the gas and it downshifts for you. You don't have to worry about having to shift down to gear, shift up a gear, shift 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This thing will do it all for you. You don't have to have recollection of how it works or anything. Now, you really don't need recollection of how it works to drive a manual for, but it always helps to know how to drive what's going on in the background. So that'll be it for my video today. It's getting really dark out actually, so I don't know if you guys can see me anymore. I don't know how good the GoPro is, and it just talked about to hit me. Okay, gotta go over. So I'm gonna leave it off there, guys. So if you guys enjoyed the video, please go down, leave a like down below, comment down below anything you want to say about the manual transmission, which one would you prefer and stuff. Also, guys, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next one.